Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 13 based on novel. So let's start. The atmosphere around the messy rocky ground was completely silent. Even the air itself faintly showed signs of solidifying. A rich bloody scent was scattering over from the coagulation. The three song devils have been completely defeated. As they looked at the three miserable-looking figures in the arena, everyone knew that this earth-shaking battle has ended. Lindong slowly stepped forward in front of the completely silent crowd. When he reached Songjin's body, he bent down and prized apart his hand. Immediately, a purple-gold-colored Nirvana seal appeared. Quite a number of people around drooled when they saw that purple-gold-colored Nirvana seal. As long as they were able to obtain this, they would gain the qualifications to advance into the Nirvana Golden ranking. Of course, despite their desire, no one really dared to do anything. Even those powerful three devils from the Song clan have been defeated by Lindong's group. Hence, which ordinary expert would dare to challenge them? Lindong, you actually dare to offend my Sky Devil Empire. You are courting death. I might not be able to do anything to you in this ancient dimension, but once we leave this place, the strength of my Sky Demon Empire is sufficient to crush you into a pulp. Songjin was really hardy. Even though he had been thoroughly thrashed by Lindong to such a miserable state, he was still able to live. His incomparably weak and vicious eyes stared at Lindong as he panted. Lindong's expression was indifferent. He ignored Songjin and directly grabbed the latter's hand. After which, he took his Nirvana seal. Light surged as he unceremoniously absorbed all his purple-gold Nirvana seal. After Lindong absorbed Songjin's purple-gold Nirvana seal, his Nirvana seal, which originally held some purple-gold luster, immediately released a purple glow. The light became increasingly dense before finally completely transforming into a purple-gold color. At this moment, Lindong had officially stepped into the Nirvana Golden ranking. Lindong. Just you wait. After we leave this ancient domain, I will make sure you die miserably. Song Chien was extremely furious when he saw this. His face, which was already covered with fresh blood, appeared even more terrifyingly distorted. However, he did not have any strength left to fight with Lindong currently. Hence, he could only roar out in rage, while his eyes were filled with rich viciousness. Lindong narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the screaming Songjin. The latter's cry immediately came to a halt. Songjin had sensed a true killing intent from Lindong's eyes. Since you have repeatedly reminded me to get rid of the root of my problems, it seems like you might be a little disappointed if I do not act as you say. Lindong smiled. However, his smile revealed a chilling aura. Lindong did not give Songjin any time to react after uttering those words. He clenched his hand before his heavenly crocodile bone spear quickly appeared. It directly transformed into a chilly glint that ruthlessly pierced toward Songjin's throat. The chilling glow was magnified in Songjin's eyes. A shocked expression also appeared with his eyes. Clearly, he did not expect that Lindong would disregard the fact that he came from a super empire and actually attack him directly. Regardless of how shocked he currently was, he did not possess any ability to retaliate against Lindong. Hence, all he could do was look at the cold glow, which had instantly arrived, with a terrified expression. Clang! However, Lindong's eyes suddenly shrunk, just when the tip of the spear that contained a gold glow pierced toward Songjin. A light suddenly tore through space before colliding against the tip of the spear with lightning-like speed. Waves after waves of extremely powerful force erupted. It actually forcefully shook Lindong's bone spear until it moved. The tip of the spear cut across Songjin's face, leaving behind a deep bloody scar. After which, it violently tore 100 feet large gully on the ground. Lindong was expressionless as he glanced at Songjin, who was screeching while covering his face with his hands. After which, he lifted his head. His tone was indifferent. This is a grudge between us and the Sky Demon Empire. May I know which friend wished to intervene? Everyone's attention suddenly shifted, before they finally paused at a gigantic tree not far away. Three figures appeared at that spot. The person in front looked like a young man. He was wearing white clothes and there seemed to be an image of a rising sun on his white clothes. That man was tall and he looked quite handsome. He stood with his hands behind his back and there was a unique aura flowing from him. Two men with lazy expressions also stood behind this white-clothed man. Their clothes also had a large rising sun image. It was likely that they came from the same empire. Is that Chien Yuan Empire's Chien? The surroundings erupted into numerous exclamations that contained a great shock when the three of them appeared. Lindong could hear an extremely dense respect from within their voices. Chien Yuan Empire? Lindong sungulated his eyes. His expression became much more solemn. Chien Yuan Empire was ranked number 1 amongst the 10 super empires. Even Chien was attracted by it. Lanyang's group, who was situated on another large rock, frowned slightly upon seeing this. Their eyes, however, contained a rich fear. This friend, Songzhen's group had already been defeated. I think that it's best for one not to go overboard in anything one does. What do you think? Chien stared at Lindong and spoke with a faint smile. Chien gave off an extraordinary aura and there was a convincing spirit contained within his words. It seemed like he was someone whom everyone regularly looked up to. Although he phrased his words as a question, Lindong did not hear a slightly conciliatory tone in his words. Instead, it sounded more like a command. Lindong's eyes flashed. As he gripped his palm, he immediately withdrew his bone spear. Although he was unhappy with Chien's tone, there was no need for him to clash with the latter. Chien Yuan Empire was the strongest of the 10 super empires and his strength would definitely be quite terrifying. Take their Nirvana seals. Lindong turned his head towards Little Martin and spoke faintly. Little Martin lazily glanced at Chien's group upon hearing this. After which, he ceased speaking any further. He turned around and took the Nirvana seals of Song Q's group. All of you, could you also not do this on account of the Chien Yuan Empire and me? Haha, after all, it is not easy for them to obtain their purple gold-colored Nirvana golden seals. However, just as Little Martin moved, Chien's eyes flashed. He mused for a moment before speaking. Everyone around turned quiet after he spoke. It was extremely common for one to have their Nirvana seals taken after being defeated and no one would think that this was overboard. That was because Nirvana seal was the reward for the victor. Although everyone understood this rule within their hearts, no one dared to oppose when they saw that the one who had spoken was the leader of the most powerful empire in this ancient battlefield, Chien Yuan Empire. Liu Bai's group had a somewhat ugly expression. They hesitated for a moment before they turned to look at Lindong, clearly awaiting his decision. Lindong's expression did not change much despite the attention. In fact, his eyes did not have a single shred of anger. He turned his head, looked towards the giant three and asked in a calm voice, if we were defeated today, do you think that Songzhen's group would show mercy and not snatch our Nirvana seals? Not only would they snatch your Nirvana seals. Most likely, you will be killed as well. This was likely the common thought in the minds of quite a number of people around. Chien looked down at Lindong from above, with his hands behind his back. With a faint smile, he said, although Songzhen's group acts in an arrogant fashion, they are likely not unreasonable people. Nonsense. Some people parted their mouths. His words could only fool a child. Lindong smiled and shook his head. He clearly felt that the other party's words were extremely comical. Therefore, he did not plan to bother with them. He looked towards Liu Bai's group and waved his hand. Do it, collect your reward. Standing on a large tree, Chien grinned before he shook his head with a soft sigh. A human figure behind Chien laughed in a strange manner just as the latter was shaking his head. That figure rushed out with a swoosh sound and appeared in front of Lindong in a flash. A chilly glow surged on the tip of the latter's finger. It had a densely cold strength permeating over it as it mercilessly pressed towards Lindong's forehead. Lindong's expression turned slightly cold when he saw this fellow attack as he pleased. However, before he could act, Little Martin appeared in front of him. He also pressed his finger forward without saying a word. Boom! Those two fingers that contained a shocking strength collided in the midair. Waves after waves of powerful storm spread apart. After which, it directly shook the ground, forming over a dozen large crack lines. Rippling strength spread apart. That figure immediately shot backwards. His toes pressed on the air before landing back on the giant tree. His original mocking expression had become a lot more serious. Little Martin's body did not move. His pretty face contained a faint chill as he glanced at the person who had attacked earlier. After which, he turned towards Chien, parted his mouth and spoke in a dense manner, "I will accompany you if you wish to fight. I do not feel you are deserving of any respect. Go and take the Nirvana seals. Grandpa Martin shall see who dares to continue speaking nonsense." Little Martin turned his head and cried out coldly towards Liu Bai's group. Liu Bai's group was stunned when they saw Little Martin's actions. It was the first time that Sukue, Mo Ling, and the rest had seen the usually lazy Little Martin act in such a forceful and overbearing manner. He completely did not give this genuine empire face. However, after hesitating for a moment, they clenched their teeth before they completely absorbed the Nirvana seals from Shui Ying and the rest. While they were absorbing the Nirvana seals, Chien on the large tree also knitted his brow slightly. His hands, which were placed behind his back, were gently lowered. Quite a number of people present felt their hearts tightened when they saw his action. It was rumored that Chien was the strongest individual in the ancient battlefield. Could it be that he was going to attack now? Lindong stared at Chien, who was slowly laying his hands down, as a chilliness flowed vaguely within his eyes. The Chen Yuan Empire was indeed powerful and Chien's reputation was truly fearsome. Nonetheless, even if they were to attack, Lindong's group was not afraid of them at all. Little Flame's muscular figure directly arrived behind Lindong. The black metal rod in his hand heavily slammed onto the ground and its frightening strength directly shook the land. After the big battle previously, there were still some traces of blood remaining on Little Flame's body. Meanwhile, his face was also filled with a ferocious and evil aura. Black light lingered on his body and occasionally transformed into a black fog. Standing beside them, Little Martin's handsome face was devoid of expression. His eyes merely glanced at Chien once. Over the year, there may have been individuals who had the qualifications to act haughty in front of him, however, this so-called strongest expert of the Chen Yuan Empire did not have the qualification to do so, much less a youngling that had just came from that place. Even though the current him could not easily use the physical strength of his celestial demon Martin's body, if he were to unleash his various tricks, it was likely that none of these geniuses could seriously contend with him. Mo Ling, Sukue, Suru, and the others did not hesitate even a little when they saw this tense atmosphere. Immediately, all of them stood behind Lindong. The eyes of Liu Bai and the rest changed continuously for a moment, before they finally clenched their teeth violently and gathered behind Lindong. Currently, all of them were in the same boat as Lindong. If Lindong was to fall, it was likely that they would not be spared as well. In that case, why should they be afraid of offending the Chen Yuan Empire? Those people around the messy rocky area turned into an uproar when they saw this scene. Clearly, they did not expect that this group would actually dare to challenge the dignity of the Chen Yuan Empire and Chien. He was the leader of the 10 super empires. Those fellows, Lan Ying also gently frowned her eyebrows upon witnessing this scene. She similarly disliked Chien and the Chen Yuan Empire, and her Celestial Empire were not on friendly terms. Both parties had clashed occasionally because of some resources. However, even she could not deny his strength. Chien was the most outstanding person amongst the younger generation of the Chen Yuan Empire. Not only did he possess a shocking talent for martial arts, but he was also quite shrewd. Based on what Lan Ying was aware of, Chien had already caught the Eye of Yuan Gate, the strongest of the 8 super sects in the eastern Xian region. Therefore, his future was limitless. Of course, the Chen Yuan Empire was originally a subordinate faction to the Yuan Gate, and it was not surprising for Chien to have caught their eyes. After all, there were quite a number of experts from the Chen Yuan Empire who held key positions in Yuan Gate. Chien is not comparable to Songshan. There is quite a deep relationship between the Sky Devil Empire and the Chen Yuan Empire. Hence, Chien was clearly unwilling to see Songzhen's group falter because of Lindong's group. Qingfeng's expression was grave as he spoke. It is very possible that he has already reached 6 yuan Nirvana stage. Lanying laughed bitterly as she softly spoke. 6 yuan Nirvana stage. Even Qingfeng, who had prepared himself, had a change in his expression when he heard this, before he exclaimed in shock. 6 yuan Nirvana stage was enough to allow Chien to look down on everyone here. Looks like the champion of the 100 Empire War this time around is going to be someone from the Chien Yuan Empire again. Qingfeng gritted his teeth as he spoke bitterly. Lanying sighed helplessly. They had already improved rapidly, but alas, it was still not sufficient to help them catch up with Chien. The white-clothed Chien standing on the large tree, slowly tilted his head in front of everyone's eyes. His eyes paused on Lindong and little Martin. Chien's feet gently stepped onto the large tree below him. Gold light strangely flashed. That kind of gold light was extremely weak and there was hardly anyone who sensed it. However, though others were unable to detect it, Lindong's eyes scintillated at that moment. He could sense an extremely faint and hidden energy ripple, which contained a powerful destructive force, being emitted from the large tree. It moved below the ground like an earthworm as it was being stealthily channeled over. Such exquisite energy control. Lindong's eyes were somewhat solemn. The surface of the ground where that strength passed did not show any signs. If it was not because of the fact that his mental energy was stronger than others, it was likely that he would have difficulty detecting it. Lindong was just about to act after having sensed the energy that was quietly sneaking over, when little Martin gently took a step forward. His footstep coincident with that underground energy ripple. A cloud of dust stealthily arose from the ground in a quiet fashion. Little Martin's figure did not move even at all as he raised his head. Following which, his handsome face contained a derisive expression as he stared at Chien. This quiet exchange occurred in a split second. Other than Lindong, little Martin, and Chien, it was likely that no one else present knew that they had already exchanged blows. Chien's eyes congealed slightly when his hidden attack was blasted apart by little Martin. After which, he released a faint smile, acting as though nothing had occurred. Do you really intend to clash with our Chien Yuan Empire? I think that sometimes it is better to follow the rules. Lindong spread his hands and said. The rule that he mentioned was that Nirvana seals should be the spoils of victory in this core region. Rules? A person behind Chien laughed in a strange manner, as he mocked, if we were to finish all of you off, what will you say then? Whether you can finish us off would be determined by your ability. Lindong smiled faintly. Heh, what an arrogant brat. That person's eyes turned cold as he laughed in a chilling manner. All right, let me see whether you have the qualifications to utter those words. This person was just about to move after speaking when he was stopped by Chien's arm. His stealthy attack previously led the latter to understand that the Lindong trio were not ordinary individuals. Ha ha, it seems like the few of you have some prejudice against us. Chien laughed slightly. His smile was gentle as his eyes stared at Lindong and little Martin. However, it seemed like his eyes were trying to see through the both of them. However, the two individuals that he faced were clearly not ordinary people. Hence, his detection would naturally fail. But it is just as well. The winner is king and the loser is a mere bandit. This principle indeed holds true and I am unable to rebut. If the few of you are unwilling to befriend me, Chien, I will not force you. I believe that we will have the opportunity to spar on the 100 Empire Mountain soon. Quite a number of people around were stunned when they heard Chien's words. Clearly, they did not expect that the leader of the Chien Yuan Empire would actually take the initiative and back down. Boss. The two people behind Chien were also stunned. Chien waved his hand. The smile on his face was quite friendly. Lindong knitted his eyebrows slightly while everyone around was stunned. He looked at Chien, who continued to act in a calm and casual manner. Immediately, some caution rose in his heart. The type of people who would reveal all of their emotions on their faces were not frightening. The scary ones were those like Chien, who would continue to smile regardless of how furious he was in his heart. Chien had actually taken a step back. Ching Feng was shocked as he exclaimed. Lan Ying's pretty eyes looked at Lindong and little Martin. Finally, her eyes shrunk slightly at where little Martin's feet were. She could see a thumb-sized dark black hole at that spot. She could sense a kind of extremely sharp and ferocious remnant strength from that black hole. Have they exchanged blows? No wonder. Lan Ying's pretty eyes glanced at little Martin while her face gradually became grave. Clearly, she did not expect that he was actually able to fight evenly with Chien in a secret bout. Shui Ying and the rest immediately felt despair when Chien backed down. Following which, they could only obediently surrender their Nirvana seals. You need to be wary of that person. Little Martin turned around, looked at Lindong and softly said. Lindong nodded slightly. He was aware that if they did not discover Chien's probing attack earlier on, it was likely that the latter would have attacked and finished them off. Chien was naturally cautious, and even though he was very powerful, he still knew how to temporarily endure. This kind of person was quite troublesome to deal with. Just when Lindong secretly placed Chien on his dangerous enemy name list, a mighty ancient melodious gong was suddenly emitted from the 100 Empire Mountain. This gong sound spread and resounded over the entire core region. The sound reverberated over the entire area and did not stop for a long time. Everyone's expression changed when they heard this gong sound, and immediately, they raised their heads and looked towards the 100 Empire Mountain with heated eyes. At this moment, the clouds on the mountain top had gradually scattered. Following which, a bright sunlight appeared from the mountain top. After which, a vast and mighty majestic voice reverberated over this entire area. The 100 Empire Mountain is open. Those with the heavenly grade Nirvana seals must ascend immediately. The gong sound was accompanied by a powerful voice which resounded over the entire domain in a vast and mighty manner. After which, it scattered, appearing as though it was spreading towards the entire ancient space. At this moment, anyone, whether or not they could enter the core region, suddenly raised their heads. Their eyes looked towards the direction where the 100 Empire Mountain was located with incomparably wild and heated eyes. The 1 year of bitter training was all for this day. Have we finally reached the end? Lindong lifted his head and stared at that enormous mountain, while he gently pursed his lips. Suddenly, 100 emotions surged in his heart. 1 year ago, he had left the great Yang Empire and arrived at this place where the geniuses gathered. At that time, he was merely an ordinary member amongst those participants. Furthermore, his status as member of a low-rank empire had doomed him to start at the bottom of the food chain. However, reality proved that Lindong would not be ordinary. During this entire journey, he had met countless number of opponents. Each of them was stronger than the next, and they were increasingly troublesome to deal with. Ultimately, he was the last man standing. This ancient battlefield was just like an extremely cruel filtering machine, and it did not show any mercy. Only the fittest would survive. It was also this kind of cruel filtering that allowed Lindong, this diamond in the rough, to gradually unleash a dazzling luster during this 1 year. This kind of luster was not inferior even when compared with those geniuses from the super empires. Lindong could sense his enormous improvement during this 1 year. In his opinion, the world that he now knows has become increasingly vast as he trained. The great Yang Empire from before now appeared so small when he thought about it. This place is not bad. Lindong turned his head to look at little Martin before he suddenly laughed. Back then, little Martin had insisted on him participating in this 100 Empire war. It was likely that he wanted to take this opportunity to train Lindong. The final result was indeed very satisfactory. During this 1 year's time, Lindong had directly advanced from the creation stage to the Nirvana stage. His progress was considered to be quite rapid. It is all right. Little Martin once again recovered his casual manner as he spoke lazily. This 100 Empire war can be considered as a rather decent honing ground for younger generation members like you. Of course, in the future, you might come into contact with even more dangerous places. Lindong smiled as he was not surprised by this. As he continued to grow stronger, the things and experts he would come into contact with would naturally become stronger and stronger. Chien looked at the top of the mountain from the giant tree. After which, He turned his head towards Lindong and smiled faintly. However, his smile caused the latter to feel a little uncomfortable. Lindong clearly adopted the greatest caution in the face of someone like Chien. Chien did not say anything else to Lindong's group. Immediately, he turned around. His toes pressed on the tree and he transformed into a rainbow light that directly rushed towards the mountain top. Those two figures behind him also closely followed. Following Chien's action, commotion immediately appeared in this entire region. Those experts, who were in possession of the heavenly-grade Nirvana seals, immediately shot out. Their expressions were wildly heated as they rushed towards the top of the mountain. On the other hand, those experts, who had yet to possess a heavenly-grade Nirvana seal, suddenly had sunken expressions. A fierce glint flashed in their eyes. Some people actually suddenly attacked a moment later, attempting to snatch the Nirvana seals of the others at this last moment in order to gain the qualification to ascend the mountain. Boom boom. Hence, this kind of silence continued for a moment before this entire area suddenly erupted into some furious screams. After which, wild and violent Yuan power ripple began to erupt. S. Bastard, what are you planning to do? Do what? Of course I'm going to snatch your Nirvana seal. Bloody hell. I'm afraid that you don't have this ability. Brothers, attack! Various furious cries basically completely erupted at this moment before the entire region became incomparably chaotic. In order to gain the qualifications to ascend the mountain, those individuals have overridden their individual rationality. Their attacks felt crazy and frantic. Liu Bai's large group all clustered around Lindong. With such a lineup, no one dared to charge towards them with heated eyes. After all, even the Sky Demon Empire was defeated by them previously. Regardless of how crazy those people were, it was likely that they would simply be courting death by charging over. Lindong's expression was calm as he watched this scene and he was not surprised. His gaze looked towards everyone beside him and smilingly asked, "Does everyone have a heavenly-grade Nirvana seal?" Mo Ling and the others nodded excitedly when they heard this. Previously, they had received quite a lot of Nirvana seals from the experts of the three super empires led by Sky Demon Empire. As such, it had allowed their Nirvana seals to reach the heavenly-grade Nirvana seal level. With the strength of Mo Ling's group, it was normally extremely difficult to possess a heavenly-grade Nirvana seal. However, thanks to their relationship with Lindong, they were able to obtain the qualifications to ascend the 100 Empire Mountain. Brother Lindong, it is really all thanks to your group this time around. We will not forget this favor. An excited expression was also plastered on Liu Bai's face. This usually indifferent person also involuntarily felt his heart fluctuate at this moment. He cupped his hands together towards Lindong and spoke. Standing aside, Yang Sen also nodded slowly. His expression was somewhat complicated as he looked at Lindong. Back then, when he had first met the latter in the ancient treasure trove, Lindong had yet to advance into the Nirvana stage. However, right now, Lindong had directly led them and defeated the Sky Demon Empire, one of the 10 super empires. As he recalled this fact, even Yang Sen could not help but feel shocked at Lindong's swift improvement. He understood that with Lindong's talent and ability, it was likely that he would not be a nameless individual even after he entered a super sect. Brother Liu Bai is too polite. We are cooperating with one another and my group is not the only one that has put in effort. Lindong laughed. You are actually quite good looking. Why haven't I realized this earlier? Mu Hongling, who was wearing a red dress, suddenly smiled sweetly before she said. You were only focused on killing me previously. I am afraid you didn't have the time to discover it. Lindong teased. Back then, he and Mu Hongling had a little grudge over the ancient secret key. Mu Hongling's pretty face reddened. An enchanting smile actually surfaced on her pretty face. Her eyes were irritated. If I knew that you had so much potential back then, I will not compete with you for the ancient secret key. I can even give it to you. Even Lindong was unable to endure, as he stared at her enchanting appearance and her fiery eyes. This woman was just like a cluster of flame that caused one's heart to feel a burning heat. Humph. Suru, who was standing beside Sukue, suddenly stuck up her small mouth and let out a soft snort when she saw Mu Hongling flirting with Lindong. That young lady-like demeanor caused a half-smile to surface on Su Kuei's face. Lindong, I have really underestimated you. Just when Lindong was prepared to pull away from this topic, two figures suddenly rushed over and landed in front of them. They were actually Lanying's group, whom they had met once before. Lindong did not slight these two people who were from the 10 great super empires. He hurriedly cupped his hands together. Lanying smilingly stared at Lindong. She gently lifted her sharp chin and said, "The Sky Demon Empire and the Chien Empire have quite a deep relationship. That is why Chien intervened. Additionally, Chien is not as friendly and open-minded as he appears on the surface. Your group did not give due respect to him. Be careful. Thanks for the reminder." Although Lindong was unaware of why Lanying would warn them, he still politely thanked her. "It's nothing. Our Celestial Empire and the Chien Empire are considered enemies. The enemy of my enemy can be considered as a friend," Lanying quietly spoke. Immediately, she paused for a moment before she spoke hesitantly. "Moreover, the Chien Empire is a subordinate faction of the Yuan Gate. Oh. Lindong's eyes suddenly shrunk when he heard this. It was unexpected that the background of this Chien Empire was actually so strong. It turned out to be the top-ranked super sect in the Eastern Chien region. Lanying did not have bothered staying any further after uttering those words. Her figure flashed before she transformed into a ray of light and rushed towards the mountain top. That man called Qingfeng also closely followed behind. Lindong looked at their figures and knitted his eyebrows slightly. Clearly, this information had somewhat exceeded his expectations. "I have heard of Yuan Gate. Back then, it fought with my celestial demon Martin clan. Therefore, we can be considered as sworn enemies." Standing beside him, little Martin's voice suddenly transformed into a wisp of sonic wave that entered Lindong's ears. Lindong's expression changed slightly. Immediately, he nodded quietly. Seems like there was no way he could join the Yuan Gate. Regardless of whether he had offended Chien, just this point from little Martin alone was sufficient for him to give up on joining the strongest super sect within the Eastern Chien region. Perhaps no one in this place could see through little Martin's actual body. However, Lindong believed that there would definitely be some unimaginably powerful experts within that Yuan Gate. At that time, it was likely that even little Martin would not be able to hide perfectly. Rather than being expelled and hunted after, it was better to distance themselves from Yuan Gate. Although he felt somewhat pitiful that he had to give up on the top-ranked super sect, he had no other choice. "Let's go." Lindong withdrew his emotion and ceased saying anything. He waved his hand. After which, his body moved, transforming into a black shadow that rushed out explosively. A large number of wind-splitting sound appeared behind him after Lindong rushed out. Following which, numerous figures hurried into the air in front of the many envious eyes and directly dashed towards the mountain top. This video will end here.